and I'm calling you.
I knew you were going to start singing.
How would she know that? I never sing.
Well, tell me, did you always dream of being an actress back then?
Wow, I love this silence. You're really interested, aren't you?
They paid money to reach me.
Thank you. Don't tell anybody you're shallow. I'm sorry. Okay, so where I was 6 years old, and we used to climb up on the dresser, my sister and I, and we would fly through the air. We loved it, you know, from the ceiling onto the mattress of the bed, and I said, I want to be an actress. That's all. That's when I knew. I was 6 years old.
At 6 years old?
Yeah, and then when I was in grammar school, I wanted to do everything everybody had for me to anybody to do. And they had, okay, we need a Christopher Columbus. I can do that. No, you're a girl. I don't care. It's okay. And then later I did play a guy, so it was good. Anyhow,
Yes, you did.
and then I did all summer stock, and I did cleanup. I wanted to be an actor really badly. So I would go to summer stock and get a job helping out, and I would crawl along the ground and pick up half-eaten hot dog buns and 7-Up, and sometimes that 7-Up tasted kind of good. No, I'm sorry, black. No, but anyhow, it was rough. It was a rough life.
But then you moved to New York City. And how old were you when you moved to New York City?
Well, 17, 18. But it's okay. I lied, and I got jobs, and I got little day jobs, and I lived on $30 a week.
30? Wow.
And
What were the jobs?
well, one was a Kelly girl.
I don't even know what that is.
Well, you'd make a beautiful Kelly girl, gotta tell you.
I would be a beautiful Cali girl?
Yeah, you kind of look perky, and it's good if you have red hair, and you type. And I would type her.
I thought I was a little more glamorous.
Yes, I'm sorry. I led you astray. But I typed very quickly and very poorly. I mean, I would type very fast, 65, but then I'd make a lot of mistakes. So that was horrible, but I would do that. And then I would work for Daynard and Van Thusen insurance adjusters, and people would say, I got my jewelry stolen, and I don't know what to do. So, well, just tell me what you got stolen. Yeah, and I'd write that all down. And then I worked at a hotel, which I can't remember the name of, but it's still there. And again, I was at the front desk getting, strangely enough, complaints. I was the complaint person, and they would tell me these complaints. There's water all over my floor. What's your name? Karen. Karen what? Karen Ziegler. Oh yeah, will you be responsible for this? I am. Wait. And I lived in this apartment, and we had a lot of cockroaches. And by the way, I want to tell you the sound that the cockroaches made.
I know that sound.
You almost did it just on stage here when you did
Oh yeah.
but it's actually
I'm not sure we had the same car.
it sounded like a little doll.
Yes. Tell me, what was your first Broadway show?
Oh, it was the Playroom, and I had the lead, and I was playing a 15-year-old, and I was nominated for Drama Circle Critics Award.
For your first show?
For my first Broadway show, yeah. Oh, it was exciting.
So how did you end up, if you went to New York to become a Broadway actress, how did you end up becoming a film actress in Los Angeles?
Oh, I want to tell you my audition.
Oh, tell me the audition.
Okay. I want to tell you what my audition. I was very sleepy, I was very tired, I didn't want to go, and I didn't have an agent, but someone who had seen me a week earlier, this is 1965, auditioning for, believe it or not, the Monkees, because the Monkees were at one time going to have a girl also or something. And she saw that I was like a kid, and so she had me go, and there were like, oh my God, hundreds of girls in that theater for that part, all with little ponytails and blonde and being 15, And so they handed me this material, and I thought, okay, yeah. And I was really tired, and I went up backstage, and I went to sleep. I was tired. And then the stage manager, who was a doll, handed me this thing. He handed me the next scene, and I was so inspired. It was incredible. I really understood this girl. She loved her father too much. She loved him, and she was about to lose him to this woman, and it scared her completely. It frightened her completely and totally. And I went backstage, and this girl was auditioning, and, you know, here's the big curtain, right? And there's a stage in front of that curtain, and the audience in front of that stage. So I can hear her, and she's going, "Daddy, daddy, daddy." God, that's wrong. She can't play that part. And of course, that made me even more inspired. So I went out and I did it, and Joseph Anthony stood up and he said, "Where have you been?" And when I was thinking about all my, you know, apartments I get kicked out of, and all the money I don't have, and all the cockroaches, and I said, "I've been here."
That's wonderful. So then you were in New York, you were introduced to a young NYU student, and you did your first film, and tell everyone who that student was.
Well, let me just tell it this way.
Okay.
Okay. So I was doing this play called The Playroom with Peter Kastner, who was my boyfriend. And there was a famous producer in the audience, and he said, "I want you to come and meet someone who's making their first film, and it's actually his thesis for his work." I can't remember the college right now. And his name is Francis Ford Coppola. So we went and we met him, and he was very lovable and almost like, you know, those people, they haven't quite learned that this hand does this and that hand does that, and this hand, that, you know what I mean? So they kind of do this all the time. He would always do that. That was so adorable. He kept like being kind of, anyhow, maybe that's not interesting. So I did You're a Big Boy Now, and that was my first film, and it was a very interesting experience. Can I go on?
Huh?
Shall I go on?
You go on, yes, absolutely.
That was good.
What?
Well, the story is that I had only done theater, pretty much, except one time I was in a great, never mind. Okay, so I'd only done theater, and I'd never seen myself on screen, and I had no idea how convincing I was on screen. I didn't know. And in You're a Big Boy Now, I play a nameless librarian who's very self-effacing, and if you say, "Who are you?" she'd say, "No one." And I played it very well. And so I saw You're a Big Boy Now, and I said, "Oh my God, I have no film career. I have no glamour. I'm not sexy at all. I'm like a little nobody," because I convinced myself that that's who I was. So for about, I would say 4 or 5 months, I said, I'm never going to LA because I'm just too plain.
Well, that was the furthest thing from the truth, because you did come to LA and you were far from plain. I just want to know how you got from New York to LA. What was that transition? And your first film was your first film out here Easy Rider?
Pretty much. There was some crazy, there are a couple of weird like things that people ask you to do, like that you don't remember, you know, those things.
Done a lot of those, and so has this audience. Oh God, what did I do last night?
I could write a song about that. Where was I?
Easy Rider.
Oh. How I got out to LA. How I got out to LA is Henry Jaglom saw me. He was a friend. He's my oldest friend except for Paul Sorvino in this world, and Bob Benedetti. Those are and he had an agent come to see me in the play, and they took me to Sardi's East and with the papers, and I had signed. So now I was signed. So I flew to LA to start my little career. And then I played a lot of little virgins on television, guest shots and so forth.
Well, Easy Rider was such a, I mean, it was a huge movie. And especially how coming out of the 50s and then the 60s, counterculture sort of changed film. And that film just became so iconic. Did you know that it would be, when you were working on it with Dennis Hopper and
Peter Fonda,
that it was going to be such a huge...
Oh my God, no. Oh my God. Tony Basil and I thought, this is it. This is the pits. You'll never live this one down. Keep it off your resume, whatever you do. Oh my God. So Dennis asked me to audition, and I auditioned, and I thought he was very brilliant, incredible. And they had me do this. But I was used to theater. You know, you have lines and you have schedules, and everyone adheres to these agreements that are made, right? And Tony was used to, you know, choreography and schedules and rhythm and time and almost the math of it all, you know. So we get there, and they put us in this big Winnebago with all these guys, and everyone's doing something, and Tony and I weren't, so we were in normal time. And the rest of these guys were not. And hours would go by and they wouldn't notice, and Dennis would say, looking out the window, "You see that guy? I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get that guy." "What, Dennis? Where are we, Dennis?" We were looking for the Mardi Gras parade. We were trying to find, in the Winnie, looking for the Mardi Gras. That's what we were doing, okay? And we never found it. If you go and get the film and look at it, you'll see that Peter and Dennis and Tony and I are never in the Mardi Gras parade. And that's why. We never found it. And then they said, okay, we're going to go and do a scene in a graveyard. Oh, God. And Terry Southern came, and we thought, oh, Terry Southern, a grown-up. We're going to have some order. We're going to have some... Not with Terry, you're not. And so Dennis and Terry Southern had a meeting in the one of the motel rooms. And Dennis is going on, and Terry Southern said, and I quote, "I can no longer stand the cacophony of your voice." And Dennis said, "The cacophony, huh? The cacophony, huh?" And that's how far we got with what we're going to shoot the next day. So I'm real worried I can't sleep, but I say to Peter, "Now, Peter, do you have anything like just a light little sleeping thing, you know?" Well, he's got a box of all kinds of things. He had so many things that Dennis used to say, "What if I try to give Dennis a vitamin E?" What is that?" "It's a vitamin E, Dennis. It won't hurt you." Oh, Peter gave me something, and I sort of got out of my body, and and I was saying to Tony, "Gee, my skin feels so kind of wet and strange, and this is funny. Wow, this is so weird." Anyhow, so then the next day we get in this Winnebago on the way to the graveyard, and Terry Southern is sitting across from us, and Tony says, "Peter, she said some really interesting things last night. Let's do that." Okay, and they give me a typewriter. This has happened to me more times than you know in my life. They give me, they say, "Write it, Karen." Oh, okay. And so I'm writing all about out of my body. And Terry Southern sitting across from us, and now I'm going to speak in foul language. Thank you for your gasps. Terry Southern says, I shouldn't tell this.
Yes, you should.
"Could you give me your panties? I like to have girls' panties. And when you crawl into the wall, those little rats." I mean, it was a nightmare. And Tony and I, you know, we just went, okay, just don't tell anybody about this. And we were very hush-hush until it became the hit of the decade. And I understand it because Dennis was very brilliant and very, he had as much intention and enthusiasm for his subject as I have ever witnessed. He would walk through walls to get that particular part of our culture told and seen. He was great. He's a genius. I was just couldn't quite see it at the time.